When we heard that two of our favourite people had got together and made an album, we just had to organise a walk with them. The musician and actor Johnny Flynn and the writer Robert Macfarlane have spent the lockdown creating an album called Lost in the Cedarwood. And on a hot, hot day, we've come to the outskirts of Cambridge, to the Wandelbury Country Park, and we're going to go on a walk with these two and learn more about their relationship and about the music that they've created together.
3, 4. There's a black dog following hard on my tree. Set firm on hollowing my heart till it fades. Gone 9 days sleepless, seeking to keep this dog off my tail. Dug this old vagabonds 7 times home. Oh, I'm 10 degrees of strange. I'm trying to change, trying to shake off my shadow. Still hoping to stay out of the black dog's rain. So I run, 'cause I must leave that dog in the dust. Gonna run like the river right down to the sea. Gonna run like the sap through the heart of a tree. I run 'cause I must leave that dog in the dust.
Robert and Johnny, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, thank you very
Morning.
much for joining us for Folk on Foot. Second time for you, Johnny, obviously, but the first time for you, Robert. Where have you brought us to?
So we're at Wandelbury hill fort. It's an Iron Age hill fort. Just off to our left is the ditch, and that was cut about 400 BC. So this was a huge encampment, defensive encampment in that period. It's the Iceni, the tribes of Brittonic tribes of the east of Boudica and Boadicea and everything. So this was one of the strongholds, and we're sort of walking along its rim, and then history has come along and layered and layered and layered on top of itself. South Cambridge, the Gog Magog Hills. There's sort of the Himalayas of Cambridge, like this. But this is about as high as it gets around here.
Oh, you were the pebble and I was the ripple. Oh, you were the puzzle and I was the riddle. Together, got lost in the middle. We took signs for wonders in summer, the meteors. In winter, the thunder, the trees split asunder.
And what's the route that you're going to take us on, Robert?
I think we're going to walk to where this encampment bridges onto a Roman road that was probably a Neolithic, almost certainly a Neolithic trackway. But this is the Romans built a road here from South Cambridge all the way to Colchester, and there's an narrow straight section of it that we'll end up on.
And this is a pretty gentle walk by your standards, I take it.
You've caught him having satiated his mountain desires last week.
That is
Did
true.
you do that last week?
I was in the Southern Highlands in Scotland climbing with my son, Tom. It was magic. So we got up some big hills together for the first time, and I just spammed Johnny with photos.
It was really
The
nice.
summits.
I was stuck in a quarantine in London and getting these pictures of Rob on top of the world. Feeling I was very happy for him.
Wherever we wander, now I'm stormbound on high ground, a jack of the head, a wreck on the beach, still trying to stay out of the black dog's reach. On some days I long for the grace of an end. I'm up the river, dry out its bed, bury me there, body and head, far from the black dog's song. 'cause I must leave that dog in the dust. Gonna run like the river right down to the sea. Gonna run like the sand through the heart of a tree. I run 'cause I must leave that dog in the dust.
I want to learn a little bit about how you came into each other's consciousness, really. And I think we've heard a bit about this in the episode of Folk on Foot that Johnny did.
Yeah.
But Robert, I wanted to know how Johnny's music first came to your attention.
Yeah. Well, I had a friend called Henry, and he made me mix CDs. He made me more than 100 mix CDs over about 10 years. And he really shaped my music tastes in that decade, sort of my 20s into my 30s. And on one of them was this song by a man called Johnny Flynn. And it was called Ghost of O'Donoghue. I just remember listening to it and hearing these opening do 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 do, and it just, I felt this kind of shiver and stillness go through me, and then this incredible strange song, and thought, who's the ghost, who's O'Donoghue, what do these words mean?
Do you know?
I know, I've got no idea, Johnny. I'm hoping you might tell me today. But and then it became such a core song for me, deep in my soul, and I would sing it in my head in the mountains, almost at one point to a problematic degree when I fell in a crevasse in the Swiss Alps not long after I'd stopped humming it. But anyway,
And
I got
it
it.
became the Ghost of Robert Macfarlane.
Yeah, exactly. Johnny, will you write my epitaph song? Was that too heavy a question for a sunny day?
Yeah.
So it really made a big impression on you.
Just huge, and it still does. I mean, I can't get enough of it, really. I still listen to it and find new things in it, and it sits with me always and always will. And when I was walking this book called The Old Ways, which actually begins here, leaving my home, walking the footpath that leads to the Roman road that leads to the Icknield Way, it's sort of Neolithic trackway, and
Sorry.
You see, Johnny's got his guitar with him.
Johnny's fascinated by spiders.
I'm still here. Yeah. No, there's some insect that I think it's gone now. I was trying to get down my shirt.
Let me have a check.
Thanks,
Yeah,
good.
all clear. You've got this jukebox in your brain when you're walking, don't you? And you stick a dime in the brain jukebox, and out comes, in my case, almost entirely Johnny Flynn songs.
Johnny, you wouldn't care to sing the song for us, would you?
Oh, I'd love to sing it.
Oh, that would be brilliant.
I love that it's that song, by the way, that sort of introduced me to you, because I love that song as well. And actually, Bea, my wife, that's one of her favourite songs. But it wasn't on an album. It was just a sort of... I had to write a B-side for the first few singles that we put out for our first album.
And who is the ghost?
We'd been on one of our first tours, I think, supporting Iron and Wine in Ireland, and I'd gone to the National Gallery in Dublin and seen a painting called The Ghost of O'Donoghue, and it was of I think there's a lake. Anyway, there's a local myth, which I've forgotten, about a ghost that visits this lake and somebody having a visitation. It was going to Ireland for the first time on that tour, actually. That was quite a precious thing for me, because it's where my father's family came from. It's hard to talk about what it's about, because it's really of that place and time, and something of the mystery of me meeting that culture for the first time. The counterpoint to Rob's story is that I discovered his books, hadn't met him, and was reading these books and being inspired to write songs. I suppose the seeds of our shared ideas and ways of expressing things were there before being so aware of each other. And then, well, for me, I swear much more than for Rob, his work was giving a form and channeling my ideas and giving me confidence to write the sort of songs that I wanted to write. So it was really, really powerful for me. And then these books arrived. I was doing a play at the Globe Theatre, and a mutual friend of ours who was an ex-student of Rob's delivered me a package of books, and there was a lovely letter and inscription in each book from Rob, and he'd so generously kind of wanted to reach out, and I was like, well, I've got all these books today. But it was so nice to get the letter and then find each other and connect.
Yeah. I'm so excited about this.
Have you ever heard this song in
Once.
the open air?
Never in the open air. No, I love the fact that we've got like a grasshopper orchestra stridulating away, probably 10,000 in this immense meadow
They sound
behind
like
us.
an overcharged electric fence, don't they? It's
Yeah, they
like-
do. Yeah.
This is the calendar. These are the days. You know where you'll be. You won't know what you'll see. Roots might change, so all that remains is a pull from place to place. We left our homes in the spring sunshine. Things came alive when I knew they weren't mine. Falling in line didn't matter at all. We knew we'd go and we each heard the call. This is the calendar. These are the days. You know where you'll be. You won't know what you'll see. Roots might change, so all that remains is a pull from place to place. Pylons found fault lines to run through the heart of the land, beat with odd fits and starts. So they ran round the eldest and grey of the hills, to let the old die without power or pill. This is the calendar. These are the days. You know where you'll be. You won't know what you'll see. Your roots might change, so all that remains is a pull from place to place. Dublin to Cork, though you've never heard told, it's a line of good men with eyes wet and cold, where they weep for the crows, bearing twigs for the nest, changing the shape of the trees they love best. This is the calendar. These are the days. You know where you'll be. You won't know what you'll see. The roots might change, so all that remains is a pull from place to place. The ghost of O'Donoghue scared not the lad who in desert respect lost the smile he'd worn glad, sat quite chief and forlorn, and pitched with the spectre, escaped all exhaustions and prayers from the rector, and with glance dancing devout pulled a frown. Hold on. And with glancing devout pulled a frown from his sackwood, with loaves from the oven and ale from the rack. This is the calendar. These are the days. You know where you'll be. You won't know what you'll see. Your roots might change, so all that remains is a pull from place to place. In the last days of my life, oh, I won't know whether to laugh or cry. In the last days of my life, oh, I won't know whether to laugh or cry.
last days of my life. Oh, I won't know whether to laugh or cry.
So we might walk back down that way and then sort of cut along that way into some slightly more open ground, and then we'll be, there's an amazing tree that I just love. It's this huge holm oak. You like holm oaks, don't you, Johnny?
Definitely.
So we could go there. That might be a good place for a song.
That would be
It's
lovely.
yeah.
I'm interested in what the experience of going for a walk with you is like, Robert, because
Very boring, but as you're discovering.
No, I've always wanted to do it because I kind of assume that you are, when you're not chatting to me and Johnny and so on, but that you are quite attuned to your surroundings and that you're paying a lot of attention to them. Is that right?
I don't know. I guess so. I sort of, a few people sort of say, "Oh, it'd be really nice to go for a walk with you or with Robert Macfarlane." Or whatever. I just think, God, they're going to be so disappointed. It's not, I don't enter this extrasensory perception mode or anything. I mean, this is a place I know really well, but I'm fascinated by you've got scabious down here, this gorgeous purple-pink flower that lingers long into winter, actually. It's often the last of the chalk flora. And
this is what happens, you see. He does the thing that some people do really annoyingly in the most generous and graceful way.
Oh, no,
like,
it's on your left.
It's so... That's why I love it.
We're going to learn something here.
Yeah, anyway, as you were.
Well, I think it's risky being like the tour guide because, first of all, I don't know the names of everything at all. There's a famous, I think David Gessner writes this essay called Sick of Nature, and it begins something like, I'm sick of being the guy who, whenever anyone finds an animal turd on the path, they turn to you and say, what's this turd from then? But no, I really am a rank amateur at trees, at flowers, at creatures. I just love natural history, and above all, I love landscape, because to me that is one of the great compound nouns. It's a collective noun. It carries human presence, more than human presence. It works in layers and many voices. When you're in landscape, you are in it. It's not a scene set. It's not something you skim along the surface of. It is a medium, and somewhere like this just exaggerates that because it's so layered. It's got Godolphin stables from the 18th century, and we've got Iron Age hill forts and Roman roads and Neolithic trackways, and it's so intense. But every landscape is like that, and no landscape should be spoken by a single voice.
My feeling of it is, having walked with you a bit, it makes your being in the landscape so much more active. When you know what tree you're looking at, your concern for everything goes up, and then your excitement. It's this engagement that makes being in natural landscapes so much more fun. I found myself on film sets where I used to get so bored kind of hanging around waiting for shots, but it's quite rare to be even on a set and not be able to see a tree out the window, or deep in the woods waiting for something to be set up, and I'm looking around going, oh God, yeah, okay, I don't need to worry about how I'm going to pass this next hour while they set up a light or something. I'm looking at these trees. And
we've always said that
all they are.
Walking is a fantastic time to talk as well, because you've got endless time, and also you walk side by side with people.
Absolutely.
So you're not kind of confronting them eye to eye as you would be in a studio maybe or whatever, and so you tend to have a more intimate conversation. But Sam Lee said to me, he said also you should shut up and listen. Because there are sounds to be heard in nature that you're missing if you're rabbiting on. But do you find it a time when you'd rather be alone, Robert, or would you rather be with somebody when you're walking?
These days, I just would always rather be with somebody. Like, my favourite path is one that's wide enough for two people. This lovely silver birches here, by the way, I call them the watching tree. Well, you see the eyes, basically. They've got eyes, birches.
Their eyes,
they're
like steps going up, actually, aren't they? But they're eyes in the bark.
In the bark, yeah. These very dark eyes, sort of slightly sad eyes. The eyebrows sort of fall either side of it. Some of them are where branches were and have gone, and others are just sort of natural artefacts of the splitting of the silver. Or in fact, it's really white. But I just, whenever I'm with birch trees, it's like you remember that the world is watching you as well as you watching the world. But also, being out, like when I got to the top of these mountains with Tom, I didn't, perorate. I was just like, wow, this is cool. I'm on a hilltop with my son. How good is that? Like sometimes language, you don't, as Sam says, you don't need to say much.
No. And what about the experience for you, Johnny, of being out walking? Does it provoke creativity and
totally
thought?
Yeah. I think the first big walk that I went on, I realised quite how powerful that the launch pad of feeling and thought could be, was walking on my own. I think I told you last time we were walking together about walking the Camino to Santiago and being on my own and kind of getting scared sometimes, and then realising that your footfall, the pace that you're at, can bring your mind to that pace, and suddenly, we live such overstimulated lives, and you could be at the pace of the spider's web and the glistening dewdrop and just feel that. Being kind of content with that is just such a wonderful place to be.
So I want to now ask you about the album that you've made together and how it began. How did the seeds of the idea first start? Johnny?
It's just always been the feeling that we wanted to kind of make things together, and the tidal wave of the pandemic was coming towards us, and everything was starting to shut down, and our live stuff was disappearing. Your talks and tours and events and things, and my gigs and TV and film and theatre commitments were all just being kind of shot down. You called me early on.
We weren't even in lockdown perhaps at that point.
It was,
or maybe it was
like
just
mid-March
a few days before, a few days after the
just as we were sort of realising it was getting weird.
Well, it was a wild time, wasn't it? We were all flailing around for any purchase, anything, stomach flipping horror at what was vanishing and what was arriving in terms of this new world. And so I think I just said, everything's gone. Why don't we try and make something in that space that's just appeared and sort of hold the shadows and the fears at bay a little bit. So it began very modestly, just like maybe a song, maybe two songs. And then at the end of the first phone call, I think it was, I said, well, maybe it becomes something bigger. There's, maybe it could be part of a bigger or an older story, and we were sort of scratching our heads about what that might be. And I had the Epic of Gilgamesh just behind me because I'd written about it in Underland, at the beginning of Underland, because it's the oldest written story in world literature, and it contains in one of its variant tablets a journey to the underworld. And I'd just completed this book Underland, and I sort of said, just tossed it off at the end. I was like, oh, well, there's always Gilgamesh.
Like you do.
And Johnny's ears pricked up.
This is the home oak.
Here it is. I actually feel incredibly excited about bringing you here and about, because it is this immense home oak, and it has such a clear border or threshold or sort of.
You're entering the oak.
And the idea of like going in there with you, Johnny, and Matthew, and hearing music being performed there is just so perfect. You'll see when you get in that it sort of has multiple trunks. It's shot up here and it's shot up there, and it's.
There's no continuity with home oaks, is there? Like in terms of what they end up. You can sort of imagine the archetypal oak or ash or whatever, but home oaks always just. This one's allowed to just be wide and its own thing.
Let's go in.
Crossing the threshold, and it gives us blessed shade as well. That's the other thing.
On a day like today, where the temperature is so high, I mean, temperature records are being broken, aren't they, at the moment in the UK?
Yeah, Northern Ireland.
And look at these different trunks.
Yeah.
So, Rob, what are these turds? No, I'm joking.
No. We are surrounded by turds. Oh, these are the lesser spotted Siberian grey owl. So there's a horse chestnut, which sort of lives in the lee and the shelter of the home oak as well. And then the home oak here, you can see there's sort of 4 huge trunks that have come up. And underneath us there'll be all this, the mycorrhizal network, the fungal wood wide web as it's called, is busy sort of connecting the chestnut to the home oak, and Johnny is right, there are many turds. and I can tell you that they belong to the Highland cattle that graze this land. Does that seem about right?
They don't look like rabbit.
We grow big rabbits around here.
Not
Johnny.
in Kansas anymore. Yeah.
So would you sing us one of the songs from the album?
Yeah, I will. Which one? What's the good one? What have we teed up with the turds?
I feel like in a way like Inkado is sort of is present.
Okay.
Wasn't that the first one?
That's the first one.
First
that
one we wrote.
Yeah. What happens in that first episode where Inkado is sort of birthed into the civilized world? The veil is ripped from his animal sight, and he's brought to meet Gilgamesh by Shamat, a holy woman in the story. And he walks for many days to the town of Uruk. Is that Uruk? And you feel in that description of the walk away from the woods where he's been living with the creatures, he's becoming a sort of a humanoid, figure, and it's this kind of coming out of his naivety.
We should also say that part of Enkidu's civilizing process is that he
I was leaving this to you.
Okay. He lies with Shamhat, this very strong kind of female presence in the story, for 7 days and 7 nights, and he has what has been described as the longest erection in the history of literature. So it goes.
It's an important thing to know about.
This is pre-Viagra, and
Longest in terms of days and nights, as opposed
not in terms of size.
no comment. Well, it definitely duration. So, and I think
I knew the homo reminded me of something.
I think the other is not specified in the original.
3, 4.
Inkado walked away. Inkado sighed in pain. Inkado wait for the flowers. Inkado walked again. Oh, I have no answers. The trees have my heart and they won't give it back to me. Now my eyes have been opened. The future is crumbling. The bars are all black with trees. Oh friend, oh my friend, oh my friend. Inkado walked away. Inkado sighed in pain. Inkado wait for the flowers. Inkado walked again. Oh, I can see in the darkness the storm clouds are gathering. I'm nearing your proud city. I can hear the foxes' calls now. The beasts have my heart and they won't give it back to me. Oh friend, oh my friend, oh my friend. I have a dream of my symmetry, an echo of death. I have a drum beating grief, I know falsehoods to death. I have a path through the cedarwood, I hear humbarber's roar. I have a dream cloaked in feathers to fall through the earth. Rivers run clear, oh your rivers run fast and free. There are tents on the hillsides and fires in the wood. The birds have my heart and they won't give it back to me. Oh friend, oh my friend, oh my friend.
That's incredibly powerful.
Wow.
Really powerful
I
stuff. And the guitar gives it such power. And in this setting, it feels absolutely perfect, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's so fun playing. You know, it's just having a reason to. I mean, for me, I think this is why I've been an aspect of my being has been so sort of confused and sad, because I live in that space where I'm sharing songs. And we were at this amazing wedding of our friend Cosmo on the weekend.
Cosmo
Sheldrake.
Sheldrake. Yes, star of the Folk on Foot podcast.
Yeah. Well, there was live, you know, all of Cosmo's friends are musicians, and there was, I mean...
It was music, basically.
There was music, and
for 48 hours.
I was kind of trembling with the excitement of encountering music again, live, in that live space, rather than just sort of in my ears, you know, in my headphones. So it was the most, you know, obviously we adore Cosmo and Flora, and the wedding was in the house where we recorded the first 8 songs, or we got together and kind of recorded the bones of the album. And Cosmo and his brother Merlin, and Flora, all feature on the album with Rob. As well.
That's an amazing place. That's the house we went to when we walked with Cosmo for
you
the
did?
podcast.
Yeah.
Yes,
You went down to
into Ballsbury Wood.
Yeah.
In,
So that's where we were.
And were you there as well, Robert?
I was there as well, yeah. There must be these people wandering along the paths a few hundred metres away, and they're like, oh my God, free Johnny Flynn concert. Didn't say that on the entry ticket.
It is strange with performing with me, like, because I was very shy when people asked me to sing on the weekend, because it's always one step forward, 2 steps back, and I have to get into the mode and kind of build up, because I always feel too fragile, basically, and then I build my exoskeleton and then
do it.
live in that for a while. And when it's been a long time of doing it, and it's fine, but yeah, I'm just reweaving myself.
You feel a bit exposed.
Yeah, I mean, I love it, but also I'm like, oh God, this is weird. Why do I do this? But then it's good for me. You know.
I've said it to you before, like, I always come away from spending time with Johnny, I feel like I've like gone to one of those tanning salons, except that the irradiation is like a goodness light. Like, you come away and just feel so much calmer and happier, and it's very special, the aura that Johnny has. But what's fascinating, another fascinating thing, is that when I see him perform live with the band, he steps up on stage and suddenly it's another Johnny. It's the exoskeleton or the weaving's done, and you're just in such control of the room, and the force coming off you is like it's another aura altogether, and it's amazing what it does to people who are listening to you. I've seen it. It's just, I mean, I really, you know, when you can perform the album, it's going to be. We will have waited a long time.
I'm looking forward to it.
So special.
Yeah.
Mm. And that cottage in the woods, did that have an impact on the way the record sounds?
Absolutely.
Huge.
Totally.
Yeah, windows open.
And it's called Lost in the Cedarwood, and you were recording it in a wood.
Yeah, and there's pine forestry on one, so just right there, and as you come along the drive, there's a huge pine forest, these giant trees on your left that are quite eerie. And then as we were getting going on these songs about the felling of this ancient cedarwood in the story of Gilgamesh, we could hear these chainsaws starting up and the crack of these pine trees falling in the woods. And it was just,
That was an eerie synchrony, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And,
Robert, can you just sort of, I know this is probably ridiculous, but can you summarise the epic for us, just to give us a sort of sense of place? Because the felling of the cedar wood's a crucial
It is crucial
element of it, isn't it?
and astonishingly premonitory as well, or kind of permanently true, as it were, in that strange way of myth. But the story is really very simple. It's about a man, Gilgamesh's encounter with mortality. So he's a proud, ruthless king, a poor governor ruling what would effectively have been one of the early sort of city-states on the banks of the great Mesopotamian rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. And then into his life comes Inkado, the wild man whose taming we've already spoken of, and semi-taming. And they fall into a great friendship. It's a story about friendship. Oh, friend, oh, my friend. And so there is a sort of echo with the joy to me of, of the friendship that's at the heart of the making of the album as well. But as we always say, neither of us is Inkado and neither of us is Gilgamesh. But the Inkado and Gilgamesh, I mean, they're like bad lads. They're like, it's kind of, they go to this sacred cedarwood, and there they meet Humbaba, the spirit of the sacred cedarwood. And really, Humbaba to me represents all that is animist, all that protects and embodies what is magical and sacred about natural places, which really modernity is kind of systematically slaughtered as it turns nature into resource. And that's what happens in this 4,000-year-old story. They strip Humbaba of his 7 protective auras, and when he's vulnerable, finally, this incredible god spirit, they kill him brutally. They cut his head off, blood's everywhere. And the gods then punish Gilgamesh and Inkado, and they do it by killing Inkado. Inkado dies, and Gilgamesh can't believe that he's dead until this extraordinary detail, a maggot crawls out of his nose. And at that point, Gilgamesh has seen mortality, he has seen the deep. And then he goes off on this great grief-stricken journey, partly to get away from grief and partly to try and seek immortality again, and eventually he realises that he can't find it. So it's the first great travel book, it's the first great piece of nature writing, it's an incredibly powerful myth and story. The felling of the cedarwood, I just cannot get past the echoes it has. And we're speaking as the protests in Fairy Creek on Vancouver Island enter something like their 400th day. Gigantic, galvanising, spasming protest between John Horgan, the Premier of British Columbia, and his wish to allow logging of 2,000-year-old yellow cedars. The felling of the cedarwood, sacred cedarwood, is happening now. We're right on the forest brink, like the pivot point, and yet the oldest written story in world literature carries the warning: don't fuck with the forests, and we still can't hear it.
Shall we carry on with our walk?
Yeah, let's do that. I think what we'll do is we'll go down this incredible beech avenue, and then we'll turn right onto the Roman road, and probably could have another song on the Roman road. Oh, look at this! It's just,
what have we got here?
Isn't that fabulous? The bees are just feasting on it. And we just got buzzed by an absolutely immense dragonfly.
What is this plant?
I think this is the marjoram. So we're on chalk. So it's about 99 million years old, this bedrock. You can see the flints and the chalk showing through everywhere, white here. So this is, as with all chalk, we're standing on the bed of a sea. So this was laid down by what I know is called, by geologists, called blizzard, which is this beautiful word for when the bodies of the coccolithophores, the kind of calcium and foramniferae, these calcium-bearing microorganisms that lived in these marine oceans, and they just fall like snow for millions of years, and then compression happens and they become chalk, and if more compression happens, they become limestone and then marble, etc. But we're on the chalk, but I love the fact that it's astonishing to me that we're basically walking on top of an acropolis. Here's the beech avenue, by the way.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. Isn't that fantastic?
That's amazing. It just stretches away forever, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And
you're in the Champs-Élysées.
Once, at the very end of this, walking down here, I saw a huge white riderless horse pass by the very end of you'll see it's like an aperture at the very end. And I ran to the end of the beech woods, and it's where it meets the Roman road. The Roman road runs perpendicular to this exit point. Ran to the far end as fast as I could, looked up and down the Roman road, nothing, no one, no horse with a rider, no riderless horse. And the Athona, the goddess who many of the stories around here are associated with, and the Roman stories often speak of white horses. So
wow,
I'm
you
sure
you saw the spirit.
It was an augury.
I have no idea. I always tell these stories because there's sort of 4 or 5 of them that I've had in my life.
Please tell the story of the your recent.
The Wandelbury or the
no, the recent one.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
I messaged Johnny from the Highlands because I was walking with my father through a wood not unlike this one, a beech wood. Suddenly there was this kind of getting louder. It's the sound of something coming through the leaves of a tall beech tree, boom, 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 and then boom, this big soft thud as this object hit the steep side of the bank from which the beeches were growing, rolled down, literally at 6 inches. It stopped rolling in front of our feet, and it was a tiny baby rabbit in its final seconds of life, a little bit of blood on it, curled up, and looked up, nothing, no pine marten, no buzzard, couldn't see a thing, no idea where it came from. It had fallen from the sky to expire at our feet, and I messaged Johnny. I was like, if I was a Roman who believed in auguries, I'd probably better just kill myself now, because
that's a really bad omen.
That is not a good one. So
But
I
it's
leave
an
it there
extraordinary thing, isn't it?
Yeah, these strange. Well,
Have you experienced any like that, Johnny?
Well, I'll tell you, the reason why my water bottle's currently insufficiently charged is because I got to Finsbury Park Station early this morning and decided to go into the park and practice some of the songs for today. And I sat on my guitar case, but with my feet kind of crossed in front of me on the ground. I was just playing through the songs, and somebody came and sat and listened, and I thought, oh, that's so nice. Nobody's listened, heard any music for so long, and I'll just carry on playing. And I got it to go, and I was like, oh, that's so good. And the last song that I practiced was a song that we did call Birdsong, which has become The World to Come. But birds are quite a strong sort of feature of it. And I looked down at my foot. My right foot is covered in just like the most improbable amount of bird shit, like gloopy, like pigeon, London, like sweaty pigeon poo, just completely, like, just unbelievable amount of poo. And it was obviously I was just sat right underneath their kind of roost.
Everyone's a critic.
No, for fuck's sake. And it was ironic that I was singing this delicate sort of. The song really is about that moment in May where.
Last May,
last year, when do you remember the temperatures started to soar and everything was getting quiet, and we were going into the eerie cedarwood, of the pandemic, and suddenly Birdsong and all these natural wonders were sort of representing themselves to us as we lost.
No traffic.
Yeah,
we could hear again.
Technology's shutting down and.
Desperate for anchor
Anyway,
points.
so I was singing that song, and then as it was a lovely kind of. It was like in the sort of Zen traditions where the master comes and beats you around the legs with a stick to make sure you're paying attention. It was a bit like that.
And
Don't get too bloody sentimental.
Yeah, it's a reminder that nature's not exactly you shouldn't be too sentimental about it.
On my way through the wood, wound a thread through the dream. Nightfall, footfall, trembling, looking for cracks in the seam. Tree tall, river call, tumbling branches brushing the beach across the river just out of reach. We are sat in the wish and the wave of our willow, wandering, ran away from the swish and the shade of our pillows, conjuring, waiting for the lick of the wind, and the rising sun draws a kiss from the birdsong. There's a blackbird perched in the branches of the silver birch, growing from my chambered heart, singing through the rising dark, singing of the world to come. Can you hear with the ears of the owl and the otter, listening, an accordion plays as the day grows hotter, glistening, there's a wildwood starting its march as a kingfisher flashes over the marsh. Far out to sea there's a strange kind of silence, gull cries, still sky, a pause in the storm and a lull in the violent sunlight. Fly by, breathing drops from fast to steady, time slows down till we're caught in its eddy. There's a blackbird perched in the branches of the silver birch, growing from my chambered heart, singing through the rising dark, singing of the world to come, singing of the rising sun, singing of forgotten floods, singing of the ancient birds, singing with the opening clouds, singing in this precious hour, singing of the broken world, singing the tales you heard, singing of the dreamer's world, singing of a glimpse of good, singing as the river flows, singing with a heart that grows, singing the world to come.
Yes.
So good.
Yes.
So good.
That'll be fun to do with an audience.
Wow.
I just want to. I just want to describe the scene because, you know, people are listening to this, but we are standing in the middle of this beech avenue
Yeah.
with the sunlight dappling down through the leaves, and Robert and Johnny are sitting side by side on this memorial bench with the guitar and the lyric book. And we have just heard the most astonishing performance, and I just wanted to reflect
Absolutely.
on that and to hope that we are, through your headphones and through your speakers, conveying how amazing it is to be here. It's just a privilege.
Yeah, totally.
Likewise,
What
yeah.
a theatre, what a stage.
Yes.
And the first line of this song, "On my way through the wood, wound a thread through the dream." It just feels like, you know, we've walked into the song. The song has walked into this place. Oh, that was awesome,
Just amazing.
Johnny. That was
Fantastic.
awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, cool.
At the very end, if people listen to this on the album, you'll hear this smash and a crash comes at the very final seconds of that song, almost after as the chords dying out. We were in the kitchen and we were all, you know, hoedowning and stamping our feet, and then Johnny was like, "Just throw things around, just get the cutlery basket, smash the pans," and you'll hear this big kind of crash as the cutlery basket goes down.
We had to, everything's kind of improvised. We really just had, you know, what we had.
Cosmo was whacking the tap. He was using the tap
yeah.
as percussion.
As percussion.
And
Like the old lady and the lady killers who has to whack the tap with the hot water together.
Yes.
There's a story behind the recording of, you know, the Fairport version of that Dylan song, you know, "If You Got to Go, Go Now." Si tu dois partir,
yes.
that they sing in French.
Their only chart hit.
Yeah, it's so good.
Somebody
But
playing a milk bottle or
There's a
something.
milk bottle on top of a kind of stacked up bunch of percussion. You can hear it in the recording, but you hear the milk bottle fall and hit everything on the way down, and then smash at the bottom in a break, and it goes ding 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 like that, and it's right.
It's in time.
It's in time, and then they carry. "Es tu dois partir," and they pick it up right on cue. You can imagine them just going, and it's so good in the recording. Anyway, so I wanted a bit of that spirit. Yeah, I can feel my. You know, I was talking about building my exoskeleton up again. I can sort of feel it coming back.
coming
I'm like,
back.
oh yeah, and I feel more like myself, because this is the self that I knew before, that was totally unafraid. Well, not mostly unafraid to get up and do that.
I wanted to pick up on something you mentioned earlier, Robert, which was that when we were in the worst of the lockdown, there was some discussion among some people about whether we could learn from the experience of having stopped the world, having pressed pause, and whether there might be a ground for optimism as a result of taking that time out to think. And, you know, I noticed some bits of that coming through in some of the songs that you talked about, but there's also some very dark imagery. I wonder if both of you have any sense of optimism about what might come from the future and from the experience that we've been through.
well, I was always very sceptical of pandemic utopianism, and we heard a lot of it in the early days. And some of it was just pure mirage. It was pure miracle thinking. Oh, the dolphins are back in the Venetian canals. Yeah. Actually, that wasn't Venice. There were no dolphins back. So, and that for me became a motif of the, I think, very understandable human urge to dream in a utopian way at a time of dystopia.
You could cynically also characterise it as our ability to congratulate ourselves very, very quickly.
Or distract ourselves
Look at
from
this,
the
we're
reality.
not flying aeroplanes anymore.
Yeah, it's been called the anthropopause. I've written quite a lot about this idea of the Anthropocene, that we've had to confront ourselves as a terraforming species, our power to shape the planet and the planetary future, amplified by number and technology, to the extent that we are leaving legacies that will be legible for millions of years to come. And those legacies don't look great at the moment. They're mass species extinction, they're erosion, they're radionuclides from nuclear tech, and so on and so forth. And I don't think that the pandemic has broadly brought us to the necessary shock. And I think I see the climate crisis as having, it's been a terrible time for that. It set us back so long just when we needed to be pushing forwards on that, and we now see this bigger crisis.
The pandemic put a stop to the kind of protests and the kind of pressure that was being put on for change.
Exactly, and
it's a distraction.
As a plane goes overhead.
As a plane goes overhead, and above all, it pulled our sight lines down to 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. It's all about getting out of the cedarwood. And we're so far from obviously being out of the cedarwood, but all the while the climate crisis was just intensifying according to its own laws, and so now there's this reconfiguration, this pivot back to the bigger problem, really, the one that's going to kill many, many more millions of people. Sorry, Johnny, I haven't given much cause for hope there. Can you?
No, it's how I feel. I think.
I don't want to interrupt you. Well, I do want to interrupt you, actually, because I just wanted to reflect on the fact that we're stepping out into the Roman road, which is straight as an arrow in both directions. It's a fantastic example, isn't it?
Yeah, and this crosses the Icknield Way. There's Fleam Dyke and Devil's Dyke, which are these old Anglo-Saxon earthworks, which are effectively barriers to entry to East Anglia, so they could tax travellers. So you can walk back into the Neolithic along the Icknield Way. You can, if you turn left at the end of this, which is what I did, and then you follow the Icknield Way, which Edward Thomas walked in 1911. You get to the Ridgeway, and the Ridgeway takes you to Dorset, and you don't more or less step off this path, so you get to Dorset, and that takes you back 5,000 years. So I love this sense of the footpath network's incredible connectedness, that you can walk out of my door along a suburban road, through a hole in a hedge, into a modern field path, onto the Roman road, onto the Icknield Way. It's time travel as well as everything else.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Johnny, you were saying about the community in Hackney.
Well, no, I feel like one thing I noticed was that we naturally, on a sort of community level, it was encouraging to see people being good to one another and looking out for each other, and the tiniest things becoming these these very moving kind of distractions or beacons of hope. Musical performance in a square in a tower block where everyone could come out. I saw these videos coming out of Italy of things like that, and
it sort of feels a bit transitory. It feels like it came and then it went again.
Yeah, now there's just a weariness now, isn't there? I've been so sort of battered and bruised by it all. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't recognise the humanity that I knew then to now. I don't feel the same way I did then, and I think we've all been changed by it. I think there will be deep, lessons to have been learned from it all, but it's still evolving, this bit of the journey, and I don't know. Yeah.
But the work that you're doing with Robert is not just capturing a moment in time, but offering us some stories and some imagery that can open our minds to some of these issues.
Yeah. We wanted to make it relevant to people and to kind of ask these questions through our experience, through translating them into song to kind of resonate with people. And
we
connect
also-
people and make this moment not a moment outside of themselves that was too
Yeah.
painful to acknowledge, but just something that we're all bound in together. And using this ancient story to kind of find those resonances through times when the dark times in the past as well.
And we always said that we hoped that we would make music that you didn't need to have read or heard of the Epic of Gilgamesh. You didn't even need to know that they were written in a pandemic year. That they, I mean, in a sense, that's inevitable because the oldest story, and then we've lived through allegory, myth, archetype. We've thought ourselves exceptional. This is the first of the great plagues. No, it isn't. Far from it. And in fact, indigenous peoples have seen their whole communities wiped out by imported viruses and other diseases. So I hope that the songs live a life free of but resonating with both Gilgamesh and the present, the now.
Are you a musician, Monkey, Robert? I mean, do you wish that you had learned an instrument or that you could sing and perform?
Yeah. I spend so much time with musicians now. The Spell Songs musicians, of course, and they make music arising from my words, and it brings me more joy than I could possibly say. Johnny and I work together, and hopefully we'll, carry on working and writing together for a while. And it's just magic to me. And all I really want to do at the moment is write songs for and with incredible musicians. I mean, Merlin bought me a set of the bones. It's like if you can't play anything.
Cosmo played the bones for us.
Yeah, Cosmo plays them really well. Merlin plays them really well, and I think it's a sign that I really want to get good enough on the bones that I can accompany Johnny.
So you could be on the next album.
Well, I am on this one very distantly, as a backing singer and a kind of hollerer to rhyme with cholera of this choral line, this sort of shout, haul away in this amazing song "Home and Dry" that Johnny wrote.
His presence is audible and not just audible, tangible throughout the record, as in. Yeah, listening to it, I'm right in that room where we were, and you're there, and Merlin's there.
I'm tempted to ask you to sing it, Johnny, just to see whether Robert would join in.
Is that
possible, or is it too complicated a song to do on the guitar?
We can do
we
it.
have think about stepping in there?
Should we scramble into the field? Can we get through that?
It's going to be a bit thorny.
We've got stuck in worse thickets before, Johnny. This is a bit.
That is narrow.
The colour of this is. Look at these bees and the thistles.
Oh yeah, they're just face down
Getting
in heaven,
into
aren't
it.
they?
Oh, I'll roll with the waves till the numbness, and though the sea calls, your voice is my compass. I'm pulled out by the swell, but your ear to the shell. I'm singing, you can listen to my ocean song. I'm singing through the roughest storm. Oh, when the winds are whipping at the big cup, licking at the key. Whoa, we can feel a mustering squall. I wish that I could fly, so I could be home and dry. Oh, I wish that I could fly, so I could be home and dry and haul away. Swing through the seasons, look for a change here, question my reasons. Now look, and I'm leaving, 'cause things are worth achieving. There's nets to be shot, son. Oh, I'm wet with the flotsam. Oh, and the winds are whipping at the big cup, licking at the key. Whoa, and we can feel a mustering squall. I wish that I could fly, so I could be home and dry. Oh, I wish that I could fly, so I could be home and dry and haul away. Sunset's bright as a furnace, but I'm not sure quite when my turn is. I'm searching for a landmark, gazing out through the dark. I need your reminding that the lighthouse is shining. Oh, and the winds are whipping at the big cup, licking at the keyhole, and we can feel a mustering squall. I wish that I could fly, so I could be home and dry. Oh, I wish that I could fly, so I could be home and dry and haul away. Didn't know if I was gonna do it.
I didn't know if I do what we do on the recording and go twice through it, I would leave. I thought
You'd
leave you hanging. And I was like, oh, I've got to do it. Up until the last second, I wasn't going to do it. And then I was like, oh,
I didn't know if we were going to do
don't-
a soft haul away at the end or just end haul away. Well, I think that is our first film duet, Johnny. Many people will long for it to
First
be the
of
last.
many.
But
First of many.
So nice, so fun.
Do you want to do another song straight away, and then while we're set up, and then we
Yeah.
Yeah,
Should
let's
we-
then we
do
just
that.
do a closing?
Yeah,
You
let's do
okay
it.
for it?
Yeah,
Is your
yeah.
Energy all right?
The sun really.
It's
Like,
really
quite hot, isn't
opened
it?
up.
no,
isn't it?
it's good. It's fine. It's nice.
So-
Let's just do it.
All right. Should I just intro it a bit? Or
Yeah,
say-
yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a buzzard creeching away, yeah. It's very much a buzzard's wood. I hear them there so often. So this song ends the album. It's just called Ferryman on the album. I love
Hear
the
them
fact
again.
we've got a buzzard. This is so perfect for this. God, I hope that is a buzzard, or else the birders are going to be all over me. But I'm pretty sure it is. God, it's like the eerie song. This was one song that I wrote almost all the words for, and I wrote them basically in an evening, and it was early in summer, sort of May time, and someone very close to me was having a very, very hard time of it. I was feeling desperate and sad, and when I wrote this song, and I just remember getting the first two lines, "Ferryman, ferryman, carry my memory on," and then thinking it was going to work. And so you sent me a message. In fact, I was at Wandelbury when I spoke to you on the phone about this song, and you sent me you said, I've got this lovely melody for it, and then I listened to some of the demos, I think, just sort of standing in the car park here, and I just felt this. I mean, this is the song that stops me, and I know lots of other people have started to respond to it very powerfully as well. But it's sort of unlike any other on the album, isn't it? And
Yeah. It was
space.
in the same way that 10 Degrees of Strange felt like it needed to be the canon launch as the record. This was like almost always going to be the closing song, and it's the last episodically in the story, isn't it?
Yeah, because he wants to sail out to the island of the Isle of Immortality. So there's a sort of, you don't hear any of that in the song. I mean, it's just, anyway, we'll let the song do its work, shall we? It's probably best.
Ferryman, ferryman, carry my memory on out to the island on the horizon, following the path to the sun, following the path to the sun. Over the sandbar, holding the North Star, steady between mast and spar. Creak of the oars and turn the hours, keeping watch for the powers. Watch for the whale's breath, watch for the moon's stare. Down in the waters of day. Ferryman, ferryman, carry my memory on out to the island on the horizon, following the path of the sun. Following the path of the sun. For the stone ones are broken, my sadness is woken. The sea roads are mistaken, so stung by the hail with sharp for a sail, we grow weak and frail. And with arms made of granite, through a blaze of gannets, we roll off this planet. Ferryman, ferryman, carry my memory on, out to the island on the horizon, following the path to the sun. Following the path to the sun. Ferryman, ferryman, carry my memory on, out to the island on the horizon, following the path to the sun. Following the path to the sun.
What a song. So beautiful and sad. And
So I can officially confirm that it is a privilege, a fascinating, moving, enlightening experience to go for a walk with both of you. And I'd like to say thank you very much for sharing your songs and your stories with us today on Folk on Foot. Thank you.
Thank you.
oh,
Thank you very much.
Matthew.
Really
You may
lovely.
have a tear or two in your eye as well.
It's been a very, very moving experience. And we're standing here in a golden cornfield listening to the song. And I think it's just a perfect way to end and to leave the song to speak for itself. Johnny Flynn and Robert Macfarlane. And thanks very much to Cambridge Past, Present and Future, who look after the Wandelbury Country Park and keep it safe for future generations. If you enjoyed this episode, please think about becoming a patron of Folk on Foot. We've filmed the songs that Johnny sang today, and we're adding them to our amazing Folk on Foot on film archive of more than 100 performances recorded all over the UK during our travels. If you want to see that, all you have to do is become a Folk on Foot hero. Go to folkonfoot.com and click on the Support Us button, and it's very easy to sign up. And there are other episodes that you might enjoy. There's a walk with Johnny Flynn on the Hackney Marshes and with Cosmo Sheldrake in Bowlesbury Wood. So just look back through our back catalogue and you'll find plenty to keep you occupied. We rely entirely on support from our listeners to keep going, so please do try to make a donation if you can.